Are you an online teacher trying to decide between working with VIPKid or Outschool? As someone who has worked with both platforms, I am going to do a comparison of the pros and cons of each company to help you decide which one is a better fit for you and your online teaching journey. First, I'm going to go over the 5 key differences between VIPKid versus Outschool and the pros and cons of each of those differences. But be sure to stay until the end because I'm going to share with you also my income that I received from VIPKid as well as Outschool. Hey, I'm Laney, an online teacher and business coach. I help online teachers establish successful online teaching businesses with strategies on lesson planning, marketing, and technology. If you want to learn more, make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you can be up to date every time that I release new content. The first thing to consider when looking at VIPKid versus Outschool is what you will be teaching. VIPKid is an online ESL company where, as the teacher, you would teach English as a second language to students in China. Outschool is a platform where you get to decide what you want to teach. If you do like the ESL route, you can continue to do that with Outschool, or you could choose things based on more academic topics or interest-based topics like I do, where I teach about dinosaurs and space. So this is a big key difference between VIPKid versus Outschool, because with VIPKid, the lessons are already created for you by VIPKid. You do not have to create your own lesson plans. This is a huge pro for some and a con for others. I can definitely see why many think that having lessons already created for you with VIPKid is way easier than creating your own lesson plans. But I also really like the fact that I get to create my own lesson content with Outschool. So it does take a little bit more work up front when it comes to teaching and creating your own lessons through Outschool than it does with VIPKid. So depending on what you prefer, you may like the fact that you don't have to plan your lessons with VIPKid, or you may like that you get to create your own content as a teacher with Outschool. If you are interested in learning more about how to create really engaging and structured lessons with Outschool, be sure to click the link in the description box that says Lesson Plan Outline. This is a free resource that I have for you, and I actually instruct a lot about this in my team membership for online teachers on how to create lessons that are structured and engaging from beginning to end. And it's the exact lesson structure that I follow myself in my classes. The second difference between VIPKid and Outschool is the hours that you're able to teach. Because VIPKid strictly offers classes to students in China, as an American or Canadian teacher, you have to cater your schedule to China's time zone. So for me, I'm Eastern Standard Time, and that means that China is always 12 to 13 hours ahead of us. So in order to teach these classes, I have to wake up at early hours in the day or work late at night. Now, with Outschool, it's the complete opposite because they offer classes to students all over the world. I'm talking in many countries. In fact, in 2020, at the end of the year, Outschool provided me with insights into the students that I taught, how many hours and things like that. But what's really cool is that they gave me insight into the number of countries that I was able to reach through the students that I taught. I taught to students in 33 different countries through Outschool's platform in the year 2020. So that just goes to show you that your ability to teach at any time with Outschool is huge. So for me, I prefer to teach during the day because my kids are in school. So I'm able to teach now with Outschool at any point throughout the day, and I'm not having to wake up at really early hours to get that in. But some might prefer that. If you have a brick and mortar job, or maybe you are a stay-at-home mom and you have to be home with your kids all day, which is where I was at when I started with VIPKid, then working those early hours might work better for you. But if not, and you prefer not to wake up really early or stay up really late to teach, then Outschool may be a better option for you. I also still teach to Asian time zones with Outschool. I do have one class every week that I teach at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time so that I can offer one of my dinosaur classes to the Asian and Australian friendly time zone. So you do still have that option with Outschool. So for me, I think that Outschool kind of wins this category by giving you the option to teach basically at any point of the day. I know for a fact that there are a lot of online ESL teachers who struggle with trying to keep up with normal day-to-day life when they wake up super early. In fact, if you want to learn more about my journey and my struggle with this, make sure to check out this video where I talk about why I quit teaching with VIPKid, because this is one of the biggest reasons why. The third thing to consider when looking at VIPKid versus Outschool is the number of students that you teach in each class. With VIPKid, their platform is basically only catered to one-on-one ratio, one teacher, one student to each class. With Outschool, you as the teacher have the ability to dictate how many students you want in each class. So if you prefer classes that are one-on-one, you can keep offering that with Outschool. But if you would like to have more students in your classes, you can also offer group classes. So for me, I teach students ages 4 to 6, and I typically keep the maximum amount of students in my classes at 6. So if I want to have up to 6 or 7, sometimes I do 7 students in a class, I can do that. But that's not an option really with VIPKid. So depending on what you prefer, if you only like the one-on-one ratio, then VIPKid would definitely be a great option for you. But you also have the ability to stick with that with Outschool. As you can see, the flexibility with Outschool is starting to show a lot here. It has a lot of the same pros that VIPKid has, but also many more options. So in my opinion, I think that either one works, especially if you like the one-to-one ratio in your classes. If you would prefer to have many students in a class, then VIPKid isn't going to be the platform for you. The fourth key difference when comparing VIPKid versus Outschool is the length of time of your classes. When it comes to VIPKid, the majority of their classes are strictly 25 minutes long, depending on what you're teaching. But for the majority of their classes, they are 25 minutes long. With Outschool, once again, the teacher gets to dictate how long the classes are. So this is another option for flexibility with Outschool. As a teacher, you get to decide, is your class going to be 25 minutes long or is it going to be 45 minutes long? Some teachers on Outschool teach more academic topics or classes that really would require more time and detail. So for them, it's beneficial to have classes that are longer than 25 minutes. But with VIPKid, you won't really see any classes that are more than 25 minutes long. And the other cool part about deciding the length is that with VIPKid, everything that you schedule is either on the hour or on the half hour, which means that if you did multiple classes back to back, you would only be able to have 5 minutes in between each class. With Outschool, when you're choosing the length of time with each class, you also get to decide what time classes start, and it doesn't have to be strictly on the hour or the half hour. If I wanted a class to start at 4:15 and then have a 15-minute break in between my next class, I could do that, or a 20-minute break in between my next class. I could do that. So you do have a lot more flexibility when it comes to Outschool and deciding what time your classes start and how long they are. Now, one thing that I will say with Outschool that maybe is a con is that with VIPKid, because they have everything set on the hour and the half hour, and because their platform is a little bit more developed, in my opinion, scheduling classes with VIPKid is a lot easier. Scheduling classes and listing them with Outschool is not that easy of a process. I think that as their platform develops, hopefully they will improve this. But for now, I do think that scheduling classes with VIPKid is a lot simpler than it is with Outschool. The fifth key difference when taking a look at VIPKid versus Outschool is going to be your potential income. With VIPKid, the income that you receive definitely is probably lower than what you're going to see with Outschool. VIPKid dictates how much income you bring in through their platform. What I love the most about Outschool is that as the teacher, you get to decide what you're charging for your classes. Now, Outschool does take 30% of all of your income that you make from each class, but even after that 30%, I always make more than I made with VIPKid. So for me, I think that giving the teacher the ability to decide how much they're going to charge per student in each class is such a benefit. It's such a benefit. And it has allowed me to increase my income significantly through online teaching. The other part of that is that VIPKid, last year they changed their pay structure. And this meant a decrease in pay for a lot of teachers. And a lot of teachers don't really like or appreciate that, which is totally understandable. So for me, I think that the ability to be able to choose how much you make because you are an independent contractor and it gives you that ability, I think that's a big pro in my opinion. In fact, let me share with you the difference in income that I made teaching 9 months with VIPKid versus 9 months with Outscool. Let's take a look at that. Okay, so as you can see right here, for the year 2020, I was hired with Outschool in May of 2020, and I began teaching in June. So from June 2020 to December 2020, for the whole year of 2020, I made a total of $14,950.22 for a total of 155 hours. A total of 155 hours. That's an average of around $96 an hour. $96 an hour. So that's, of course, after also Outschool takes their 30%. This is my take home. So I made an average of $96 an hour for a total of almost $15,000 for 155 hours worth of work. Mind blown. Now, also with that, we have VIPKid. So let's take a look at VIPKid. I was hired with VIPKid in August of 2019, and I taught my last class with them in June of 2020. So a little bit longer, not much longer, I think 10 months instead of 9 months for you to look at here. But I know for a fact, and I didn't get the exact hours here because it would have taken me forever. Unfortunately, VIPKid doesn't give you the stats as easily as Outschool, but it's more than 155 hours, I can tell you that. And I made a total of $7,695. So I doubled what I made working with Outschool, teaching less. So for me, that's huge. That's a giant pro with Outschool, and a reason why I think a lot of teachers have moved from online ESL over to Outschool and platforms like Outschool. So if you ask me whether I think one is better than the other, when it comes to income, I definitely think that Outschool is the way to go if you're looking to make more money. So we have learned about the 5 key differences between VIPKid versus Outschool, and hopefully this has brought you some clarity on deciding which company is going to be the best fit for you. Next week's video is going to be all about 5 ways that you can bring in full-time income teaching from home. Until then, make sure that you check out these 2 videos so that you can see how you can have success on Outschool. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.